All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're recording like usual, so our folks, mostly with kiddos that can't join us, can watch later.
Mhm.
Michele, thank you for joining us again this year. We're really looking forward to this talk. I'll let Michele introduce herself more formally, but we had a lot of topic ideas she was sending to me to try to pick from, but I thought sleep might be a good one, something we haven't touched on much and maybe an area a lot of us struggle. So, Michele, I'll turn it over to you. I've got the chat up so we can let us know how you want to do questions and things like that, but I'm sure we'll have plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, we'll have little opportunity and feel free to like if you have a question, interrupt, just throw your hand up and Hunter, if you can kind of keep your eye on that, that would be great. It's nice to have somebody on the other side that's helping out a little bit. So if you were not on with me last year, just a quick background on me. I have always been a fitness junkie, an average athlete at best, probably from the age of 12. Got into fitness just because I was such a gym rat. And I was working in the corporate arena and had three kids very quickly. And our company was bought, sold. I was laid off. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe I'll give this fitness thing a run. So I became a personal trainer in 2000. And ever since then, I've just been on this path of mass educational destruction to find out all I can learn about health and wellness. And in 2020, I had a bit of a burnout and crash, you could say. There's a lot going on in my personal life. And I started working with a coach, more so on my nutrition. But what I didn't realize was how much sleep and stress management and all those things intertwined kind of add up. As a nutrition coach, one of the things I talk about all the time is food sensitivities. And sleep is one of the pillars that I like to focus on with clients. But back to the food sensitivity example, if you take a pizza and you might have a gluten allergy, a dairy allergy, a nightshade allergy, and if you have, in one sitting, just a little bit of gluten, it might not affect you as much as if you had that pizza and you're affected by three food sensitivities. So it's kind of all encompassing, and sleep is just part of the wellness picture, but it's probably the most critical. Not probably, it is the most critical. And we don't really know a lot about it. And it really affects us as athletes. And in particular, if you're struggling with anxiety, depression, um, brain fog, or weight management, one of the first things that you want to look at is your sleep hygiene. What is that looking like for you? So, what I wanted to talk about tonight was the importance of sleep. So, what impacts your sleep? How does sleep even work? How does it affect your hormones? Talk about sleep and athletic performance. And then we'll talk about tips and tricks to get better sleep. If there's any other questions you have that I don't cover during the presentation, if I can't answer them right now, I will find a way to get the answer for you if possible. So, what goes on when we sleep? So these are just some of the things that occur within our body. Our heart rate decreases, our body temperature decreases, our blood pressure decreases, our brain activity decreases, our muscles relax. We can improve our immune function. We also produce our human growth hormone during that time. Our cortisol decreases, and our leptin and ghrelin hormones, which I'm going to touch on in a little bit, actually have the opportunity to reset during that time. So, what are some of the things that impact sleep? Stress and anxiety, poor sleep hygiene, obviously, electronic devices, caffeine, and stimulants. So caffeine has a half-life, and I believe it's either 6 or 8 hours. So even if you cut yourself off at noon and you're trying to get to bed at a decent hour, that caffeine can still impact your sleep. So try either cutting back on caffeine or just shutting yourself off from it, like maybe at 9 o'clock in the morning. Alcohol and substance abuse. One of the things with alcohol is it helps us get to sleep, but it doesn't help us stay asleep. Oftentimes we'll have that insulin crash or the blood sugar crash, and that actually causes us to wake up. And during that time, when you're initially falling asleep, we're not really getting sound sleep. And I'll show you a little bit about the stages of sleep in a little bit. Medical conditions, different medications, your environmental factors. What's the temperature of your room? How bright is it? Is your partner snoring? Shift work, jet lag can definitely affect it. Hormonal changes for those of you that might be perimenopausal or menopausal, that certainly has an impact. As we age, our sleep patterns start to diminish a little bit. We sleep more erratically, and our distance or our length of time typically will decrease. Not moving around impacts your sleep. Having irregular meal times. So your body likes consistency. So the more consistent you can be, even with your meal times, and also not eating too close to bedtime. If you're within that 2 to 3 hour window, having a large meal, your body's going to be focusing more on digestion than getting to sleep. So try to cut those big meals off at least 2 hours prior to bedtime. And then mental health conditions, your depression, your anxiety, and also napping throughout the day. That's my last one down there. Sometimes if you take too long of a nap, it's going to interrupt your sleep in the evening. All right, so there's this thing called circadian rhythm. And basically, it's our 24-hour sleep-wake cycle. And it's basically our internal biological clock. It also, at the same time, helps our body know when we're supposed to produce different levels of hormones. And again, helps to regulate our immune function and our metabolism as well. And this is kind of what it looks like. It's going to be a little bit different from person to person. Hopefully you can see this. But basically 2 o'clock in the morning, you've got your deepest sleep, your lowest body temperature, and you can just kind of see all the way around the circle what's going on throughout the day. This does vary, again, from person to person. If you guys, has anybody heard of the Whoop or the Aura Ring? The Aura Ring does a pretty good job of kind of telling you where you are within the sleep cycle. It's actually pretty cool. It'll tell you how ready you are for your workouts. And it'll tell you like, okay, it's time for you to go to bed. I think the Apple Watch does the same thing. The accuracy of something that's a little bit tighter, I've found even when I've been training clients utilizing watches, there's a lot more wiggle room. And especially if you're sweating too, not that you're going to be sweating. Well, maybe you are sweating in your sleep. But the chances of that wiggling around could be a little different. So I do like the Aura and the Whoop for that reason. Any questions about the circadian rhythm? Okay.
Sorry,
so
this is
talk.
Kirsty. Sorry, do you have an opinion on Garmin watches?
I have not done a comparison. I've really only looked at the Aura and the Whoop, and I think they're pretty comparable. I'll have to do a little recon and investigating on the Garmin, and I will get back to you. If you can let me know, how to get in touch with you, or I'll just come back to this and I'll give you an answer one way or another. Sure. So sleep cycles. There's kind of there's 4 listed here, but there's really 5. You've got the lightest sleep, and if you do have one of those devices, that's usually called like your sleep latency. It's where you start drifting off, you're starting to relax, but you know, you can really wake up at the drop of anything, right? I always talk about personally, I go to sleep with the TV on. If you struggle with going to sleep, not a good idea. It actually helps me to go to sleep, but I've learned to set the sleep timer. If I go beyond 15 minutes, I'll wake up if there's like a loud noise or something like that. So I'm probably still either in that NREM 1 or I'm just starting to get into that NREM 2 when that happens. So you can see here what's going on during each of the phases. You've got basically 2 light sleeps, and then you've got 2 slow wave sleeps. But basically your deep sleep is when it's hard to be woken up. That's when your brain is it's actually in recovery mode. This is also where we are, not only our brain is in recovery mode, but our muscles and our tissues are also in recovery mode. And that's also when the HGH is released. So when you're talking about recovery time, especially from, you know, a lot of activity, it's going to happen during that deep sleep. And then you've got your REM. So that's where your dreaming is occurring. You've got that rapid eye movement going back and forth. Your brain activity actually increases. You're conserving energy, and you've got that emotional and cognitive restoration going on at that same time. And as far as sleep cycles are concerned, they're each around 90 minutes. Typically, if you're getting, you know, 7 to 9 hours of sleep, you're going to go through 4 to 6 full cycles each night. More often, you're going to get more deep sleep, and you're going to end that with more REM sleep. But say, you know, you're a snooze button hitter. Every time you hit that snooze button or you're jolted awake, your sleep cycle starts all the way from the REM 1, or not the REM 1, the heck, my brain's not functioning. The NREM 1, the lightest sleep. So it's going to start over again, and then it's going to take, you know, 90 minutes to complete that cycle. So just keep that in mind. If you want to snooze, you're better off just setting your timer to the last possible minute that you need to get up, and then just get up, because you'll actually start to notice if you do that more frequently, you'll be less tired if you just get up when you're supposed to get up versus hitting that snooze. And then having to start that sleep cycle all over again. And then you're being woken up in, you know, light sleep 2, or maybe the first phase of deep sleep, depending on you. So any questions on the sleep cycles? Okay. So then we'll talk about hormones in sleep. And these are all of the hormones that can be affected. So you got melatonin, cortisol, serotonin, your sex hormones, your human growth, that should say, not grown, hormone, your thyroid, and then there's that leptin and ghrelin again. So we know, if you've seen or ever struggled with sleep, one of the things that you can get over the counter is melatonin. You want to be very careful about using melatonin. Your body naturally produces it. I would rather see you go outside and get a little sunshine before you go to bed and get your melatonin that way in through your eyes, versus popping a pill to try to help yourself get to sleep on a consistent basis. There's a lot of other things that you can do to try to improve your sleep versus just going right to that supplement. We do produce and secrete that in the pineal gland. And again, the amount that's secreted is regulated by the light that's coming through your eyes. That is the hormone that makes you feel tired, fall asleep, and also stay asleep. As we get older, and we not only are getting older, but we've got stress, and certain medications can affect the production of that melatonin. And again, going back to that supplement, if you're consistently taking that, after a while, you're going to either need to increase it so much, or it's just going to start losing its effectiveness over time. So it's something to use in a pinch, but I would also swap it out with other supplements. Probably should have talked about sleep supplements, and I didn't include that in this. So cortisol and waking up. The way cortisol works is kind of in opposition of the melatonin. So as the melatonin is rising, the cortisol should be going down. The melatonin goes up, melatonin and serotonin go up throughout the day, and the cortisol should go down, and it should actually help us prepare to go to sleep. If our cortisol is not able to drop for whatever reason, most often it's stress or just really being backlogged in your sleep, you're going to struggle to get to sleep continually. And things that affect that again are going to be sleep and stress disruptions, jet lag, shift work, just having an inconsistent sleep schedule. You know, when you have babies, right, you're like walking around like a zombie because that sleep is just all over the place. So just imagine, you know, when you're waking up, cortisol is not always bad, but you do want to have the highest spike in the morning, and then it should diminish as the day occurs. And then the last one is serotonin. I mentioned this a little bit. When we wake up, our body is signaling to produce and release the higher levels of serotonin, and that's kind of what helps us become more awake and alert. And again, also why exposure to light in the mornings is important. One of the things that I actually just ordered for myself, because I don't like waking up in the dark, is one of those. There's a bunch of them. There's ones that are really, really expensive and ones that are not really expensive, but you can set the alarm and the light will gradually start to come on. And then it's like you're in that natural sunlight to help you get up, versus like your alarm going off and you're opening your eyes at the start and, you know, it's pitch dark outside, which unfortunately happens in the winter. So just something to consider utilizing to, if you struggle or you're like, oh, don't feel like getting up in the dark, try one of those alarms. How does sleep affect chronic fatigue and your body composition as well? So again, it's the disruption of your sleep patterns and that imbalance of hormones, which would be mostly cortisol, growth hormone, and melatonin as well. And then, you know, can also affect our physical activity. You're not going to perform as well. You might even skip your workouts or your activities because you're so tired, right? And it's also going to affect your food cravings and your food choices, which we're going to look at in a little bit as well. One thing that I've been learning a lot about is sex hormones. And we as women have estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, and they all do play a role in regulating sleep patterns. Testosterone actually linked to sleep quality, and the changes that happen as we're getting older certainly can affect our sleep patterns, and these are the main three hormones that are being affected as we're hitting midlife: estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. So if you're struggling with sleep and that's going on, it pretty much affects most women, if not for a long time post-menopause or perimenopause through post-menopause, but at least for a significant time frame, your sleep could be affected, but not necessarily forever. And then we'll talk about growth hormone too. I mentioned that earlier. The growth hormone is what's released during deep sleep. And that's what is playing a role in muscle growth, tissue repair, and just overall your recovery, right? So human growth hormone is a big one. And then your thyroid hormones as well, your T4 and your T3. And the big one that actually has been discovered more recently as far as hormones are concerned are ghrelin and leptin. And these are the key players in metabolism and weight regulation, but there's definitely a relationship between sleep, metabolism, and weight regulation because of these two hormones. And the way they work, ghrelin is your hunger hormone. It actually stimulates your appetite and promotes hunger. How does it impact your sleep? If your sleep is inadequate, your ghrelin goes up, and therefore you're feeling more hungry, and you're going to have a tendency to consume more calories during that time. Unfortunately, the type of calories that we tend to look for are the processed, carby, fatty kinds of things when our ghrelin increases. The other one is leptin, and they work pretty much inversely. So leptin is the satiety hormone. It tells you, okay, I'm not hungry anymore. You can stop eating. So how does that impact sleep? If you aren't sleeping well, that's actually going to decrease. Remember, I said it's inverse of ghrelin, and it will actually reduce your capability to understand, okay, I'm full. I don't need any more. And that's where you're going to be overeating, and you're going to have difficult time maintaining a healthy weight. And how does all of this impact our metabolism? It increases our appetite. Again, you're craving high calorie foods, weight gain and obesity risk, and the metabolic disruptions that occur. You may have heard about insulin sensitivity. That's something that definitely is happening as you're getting older into your mid 40s and on up. Your glucose metabolism, and you're basically increasing your risk for type 2 diabetes. Any questions so far? Nope. Informative? Are you tired of hearing me ramble? Okay, good. All right, so how does it affect us? Our amazing cycling abilities and our triathlete abilities. So if we have crappy sleep, we aren't going to recover well. When you are taxing your muscles, in whatever way it might be, through sport, through weightlifting, what is actually occurring to your muscle is little micro tears, and we're hopefully building the muscle. However, if we aren't getting adequate sleep, we're never going to hit that deep sleep wave, right? Where we're going to have the opportunity to actually allow our muscles to recover and repair. So yes, you're impacting. I'm sure you have all felt, maybe not, but it sucks when it happens. When, you're freaking riding on a flat and you're not even riding super fast, and you feel like your quads are burning, right? That is part of what's probably going on, is the fact that you're really should have had a rest day today instead of pushing through it, right? So you may not have gotten great sleep. You may not have had enough water, whatever it might be. Those rest days are really important for your sleep as well. Again, energy restoration and the Aura Ring, the Whoop, I'm sure the Garmin too, will actually tell you, am I ready to work out today? So if you have a crappy night of sleep, chances are your readiness score is going to be low. It's going to affect our cognitive function and our reaction time. So if you're severely tired, you're out on your bike, you're mountain biking, you're road biking, is it really a smart thing to do? Because you might not be able to react to something as quickly as you normally could have when you had a good night of sleep. Hormonal balance, of course, your immune function, injury prevention, thermoregulation, just your body temperature, right? If we're not sleeping well, chances are that's just going to be off. And again, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but recovery quality. So that's how it's going to impact us. And I always say that if you're super tired, you're going to be better off choosing something lighter in intensity, yoga or a walk or a nice little, hike that's not too intense versus jumping on a bike and mountain bike or whatever and going out and trying to crush an event or go out and do crazy amounts of mileage because you could get hurt. You're not as on as you potentially could be. Take a rest day or do another activity. Your body and your mind and potentially anything that could be broken will appreciate it. All right. So any questions on that? Athletic performance.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Sometimes when I have like a really, let's say, hard, long ride, I have trouble sleeping that night. What's that about?
That is probably your body just trying to recover, honestly. I'll never forget the first century I did. I tossed and turned, and I don't know if technically it was restless leg syndrome per se. It was merely my body trying to recover from what I did that was so taxing. So that would be my bet. In those situations, it probably helps to make sure that you're really well hydrated, that you definitely took in enough carbohydrates, and making sure that like your magnesium is at a decent level. Any other type of supplementation that you're doing, a lot of times it's just your body depleted of the thing that it needs, and you just can't sleep. You're tossing and turning. I've experienced that on hard rides as well. Best thing for that is, again, just make sure you're really hydrated. Do you remember in particular the event you were talking about? Has it happened more than once?
Yeah, well, either the 2 century rides that I've done or like the long ride during training for a century.
Have you tracked your nutrition during those times? Like, are you aware of how many calories you're taking in, specifically how many carbohydrates you're taking in? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I couldn't tell you. I
Yeah,
do
so one of the
something like every half hour, maybe like 30 grams of carbohydrates every half hour.
and I always wonder if how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 60.
I always wonder if that would happen to like somebody Hunter's age.
Yeah.
Yes, it happens to
I'm
me.
sure
Like
yeah.
after a 70.3, I do not sleep well at all the night after. It's the second night of sleep. But trying to explain that to people that, like my fiance, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna sleep tonight. Like I just know. But the second night of sleep is like where it's at.
Yeah, that's so true. So, my thinking is really that it's just your body is spending so much time during those phases. And it also might take you a little bit longer to get into that deep phase just because your body has been so taxed. Like it's going to take your body that much longer to just allow the muscle to relax. So
that makes sense.
I would just remind you to take a look at your nutrition specifically before those kinds of events. I
Mhm.
still don't think, I mean, that's a lot, that's a lot on your body, 100 miles, right?
Mhm.
So, and the repetitive nature, it's not like, although doing a triathlon, I'm sure is just as bad, probably even worse, but at least in a triathlon, you're doing different events versus sitting on a bike for 6 hours pedaling in one direction,
Yeah. Yeah.
so there's not a whole lot of cross training going on in that situation. It's your same muscles repetitively being used over and over again. So that's just probably extreme muscle fatigue. um, and just really pay attention to your hydration, your magnesium levels, and your carbohydrate and protein and even fat intake. Um, when I was working with a cyclist who was training to do a portion of the Tour de France, um, I actually would have him dump his data from his Garmin so that we could see all of his stats. And I kind of came up with this is how many carbohydrates I want you to have based on, your performance for the last 6 rides that you've done that were pretty similar. So you can get into looking at data like that too. It's kind of interesting, actually. So
Thank
you're
you.
not alone. You're not alone. And it's good to know that Hunter feels that too. So, all right. So what do we do? How do we get better sleep? First thing is to make sure that you create a great environment for sleep. Actually having your room temperature between like 62 and 65 degrees, which right now probably isn't that hard to do. And watch your sheets, right? If you're finding that you're running hot while you're sleeping, there's a lot of things that you can put under your sheets. They even make things now, if you're sleeping with a partner, that you can actually control the temperature on your side of the bed and your partner isn't like, I would imagine, I like it really cold. I don't have to sleep with a partner right now anymore, but I would have the ceiling fan going on, a fan at my head, and I'd be whipping the sheets on and off and comforters on and off, and he'd be like, "What are you doing? I'm freezing." So, just making sure that you have a nice cool temperature for you set up in your room. Making sure that there's not a lot of bright light. Get yourself a sleep mask, get blackout shades. Do you sleep with your dog at night? You know that if you're sleeping with your pet, you're probably not getting the best sleep. So it might be time for, good old Daisy to lay on the floor. My dog sleeps with me and she wakes me up. But if sleep is an issue for you, it might be a good idea to let the dog go. If you have a partner that snores, that's super annoying. If it doesn't bother you, that's awesome. Usually what happens is, if you're asleep, you're good. But if they're starting to sleep first and you come in, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get to sleep tonight. So sometimes you just got to go to a different bed, right? Go to a different room. Again, getting the alarm clock that's set up for you so that you can have a nice peaceful wake time and you're not super stressed out about like missing your alarm. Talking about stress next. Stress definitely can keep you up at night, right? So one of the things that I will always say to my clients is, if you're have all this stuff going on up in your head and you're having trouble sleeping, do a brain dump before you go to bed. Get a journal. Whatever's going on up there, just get it out on paper. You can rip it up afterwards, but as long as you get it out on paper, you're not going to be thinking about that. if you have something that needs to be done before you go to work in the morning, get it set up and prepared for the night before, so you're not stressing about it while you're laying there in bed trying to go to sleep. Try to be as prepared for everything as possible. I do that when I'm riding on the weekends. If I have an early wake up, I have all my stuff ready, like what I'm going to wear. Everything's charged, same for any other day of the week. If you try to get as much done before you go to bed, you're not going to be laying in bed thinking about it. So those brain dumps or getting your pre-morning prep done the night before will just help you get to sleep and stay asleep. Sleep hygiene habits. So that would be like setting an alarm, right? To say, okay, I've got a half an hour before I go to bed. And all of our phones do that for us now. Our watches do that for us now. So if you know that you need 7 hours of sleep minimum, and you've got to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, just work back from that and give yourself a 30-minute window from the time that you need to be in bed and asleep. Work it backwards, right? And be consistent with that. Every morning, if you need to get up for work at 5:30, do it 5:30. On the weekend, try not to make that window much more than an hour. So if you're typically going to bed at 9 on the weekend, every once in a while, go out, have a good time, stay up late, but you're going to feel so much better the more consistent you are. And eventually, if you're that consistent, you probably aren't going to need an alarm to get up anyway, unless something's happening and you're not getting great sleep during the night. So sleep hygiene, same bedtime, same wake time as much as possible. Also, what are your bedtime routines? I started doing this when I was trying to give up wine on the weeknights, and I started drinking bedtime tea, yogi bedtime tea. It's amazing. A lot of times, you want that nice little glass of wine before you go to bed, or whatever it might be. It might be a little snack. Change that to something that's going to enhance your desire, or at least calming you down before you go to bed versus hurting you. Like having a sugary snack, not a good idea. Wine, not a good idea. Find another way to calm yourself down. Some other things that are helpful: taking a warm bath about half an hour before you go to bed. Doesn't sound super appetizing right now when it's freezing cold outside to sit in a bathtub for 20 minutes. But maybe jump in the shower and take a warm shower before you go to bed. On the tub soaking thing for 20 minutes, there was a good podcast, and totally forget what it is right now. I would have to go back and dig it up, and I can post it in the group someplace, where they were talking about this huge, sleep hygiene routine. And he was saying, for many years, it was always the orange, yellowish, reddish light that was beneficial for sleep. This guy was saying that it's a green light, and you can actually get them at Home Depot. Have a green light. You don't want to look directly into it. But if you could have it while you're in the tub, listening to some nice, yoga type music, have some candles burning, and just chill with that light on, that could help you get to sleep as well. And then maybe even do like a little 10-minute stretch or mobility routine before you go to bed. On nutrition, I touched on a little bit already. If you're having like a very highly concentrated, sugar concentrated snack too close to bedtime, same effect is going to happen as having that glass of wine. You're going to have that crash probably. It might help you get to bed or get to sleep initially, but you're going to have that blood sugar crash, and it's going to wake you up. That being said, however, when some folks have issues getting to sleep, it's a good idea to actually have a carbohydrate snack but maybe like 75% carbohydrate, 25% fat protein mixture, because the carbs can help you get to sleep. It's just you don't want to have them by yourself. Your body always seems to metabolize carbohydrates a little bit better when you have protein and fat along with it. And then as far as exercise is concerned, exercise is awesome because it helps you sleep, gets you tired. But if you're doing that too close to bedtime, it can keep you up. So again, along the same lines, everybody's a little different, but along the same lines of you're eating a meal too late, exercise the same way. Within that 2 to 3 hour window time frame prior to bed, you really don't want to be doing like an intense workout, because you are going to struggle. It's gonna get your you're going to get fired up, right? So your happy hormones won't let you go to sleep. The endorphins will be raging because of your amazing workout. So just try to minimize the time frame, or maximize the time frame, I should say, between that intense workout and bedtime. Yoga, little walk, not a big deal, stretching, but something intense, try to do it much earlier than your bedtime. So, open it up to you guys. First of all, do you have any questions about anything I covered?
Hi,
Yeah.
yes, this is Josephine. I often wake up and having to pee around 3 o'clock. So then I was doing research and it said, do not drink a lot of water 2 to 4 hours before you go to bed. I'm just always thirsty. So I'm just struggling with not drinking. Do you have an opinion on that?
So I try to get the majority of my water in like before dinner, and then I'll have a little bit with my dinner, and then I usually will have my bedtime tea. Try adding some salt if you're getting up to pee. How much water do you take in on a daily basis?
A lot, I guess. Maybe too much. I don't know. A gallon, I guess, in total, or something. 2 bottles, 3 bottles, 4.
Okay. Yeah,
Depends
you
on the
might
day.
want to, yeah, try adding a pinch of salt to your water.
Okay.
If you are finding that you're peeing a lot, unless you have like blood pressure issues or something like that, get yourself a nice pink Himalayan salt, put it in your water. A lot of times that will at least help you retain a little bit of that, so that you're not up peeing. So I'd probably do that like later during the day. When you're drinking, just add a little bit of salt, see if it helps. Otherwise, I would probably say do what I do, try to get the majority of it in before like 6 o'clock. Have whatever you're having with dinner, and try not to have too much after that. If you're thirsty, it could be that you don't have enough salt in your diet, or you're just not drinking enough throughout the entire day. If you're thirsty at night, are you riding at night? Working out at night?
I do sports, a workout between 5 and 8. Anywhere between there. So let's say 6 to 8.
And about how long is your workout?
2 hours.
2 hours? Are you sweating a crap ton?
Yeah. Something. Yeah, most often.
Yeah, I would try putting a little salt in while you're doing your workout.
Okay.
Try it,
Yeah,
and then let me know if that helps. I was having the same issue when I started increasing my water, and it did help me. And I was just doing a couple pinches And if you ever do a cleanse, like if you're ever trying to, not really a cleanse, if you're trying to do like a 36-hour, my brain is really not working today. The words are not coming.
Fasting.
Fasting. Yes, thank you. It's exactly what I was looking for. I'm like, cleanse. No, it's not a cleanse. Salt helps with the hunger. So
Okay.
if you do those fasts, salt and water, and you really won't be hungry. So
I wonder
um,
if I can ask one more question.
sure.
I've heard that if you take supplements before bedtime, that's the best time for your body during your sleep to take them in. Is that true?
I would say it depends on the supplement.
Okay, so just a regular, which most people I guess take, like magnesium, um, like maybe collagen, um, what do you call that for the bones?
Calcium. I
That
think
as well.
I have heard
Right.
that as well. But I think it's certain ones. So
Okay.
I will
Okay.
I will get you a better answer to that question. I take my supplements in the morning and in the afternoon because by the time bedtime rolls around, my brain can't handle anything else to have to remember.
Okay.
So personally, except for when I was taking stuff for menopause and Calm, if you've ever heard of Calm, it's something that can help you with sleep. So any of your sleep supplements, you're obviously going to want to take that closer to bedtime. Other than that, I I never I never took any supplements at nighttime.
Okay.
So, but I'll do a little research with my thorn girl for you about
Okay.
is there a timing thing with supplements? Like I said, I think it's pretty much that only applies to supplements for sleep.
Okay.
But I'm not a huge supplement taker, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I try to get as much as I can from food. But there are ones that we definitely need, and I do take those. But people go cray cray over their supplements, and they're taking like 15 pills, 15 different kinds of things. I'm like, do you even know what you're taking that for?
Yeah.
So
Well,
anyway,
okay.
anybody want to talk about their sleep struggles? Ask some questions about their sleep struggles. Everybody's solid. You probably wouldn't be on this call if you were solid. I
I
think,
think I'm the worst sleeper there is. I probably get about like 4 hours of sleep, I think maybe like every night.
oh, girl.
I know it's really bad. So,
Yeah, and I don't even think I
but
said.
I've learned a lot of stuff through this presentation today. So, I could try doing some of the stuff here.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's really funny. I had a client that was actually working with a sleep doctor,
hmm,
and she had decent success with him. One of the other things is if you're not sleeping well, make sure that if you're a snorer or a mouth breather, it could be a sleep apnea thing.
hmm,
If you sleep by yourself, you're not going to know. My
hmm.
cousin came to visit me 2 years ago, and I'm like, girl, I had to stuff in my ears. You are an obnoxious snorer. And she would always tell me how she's like, well, I feel like I get a decent amount of sleep. I'm like, well, when you wake up in the morning, do you feel well rested? And she's like, sometimes not. So she actually went and had a sleep study done, and it turned out that she was like literally stopping breathing multiple times through the night. So just make sure that something like that's not going on. Um, Also, caffeine is huge. This client that went to the sleep doctor, she was a diet soda drinker, and not that she would drink them all day, but even like drinking it at lunch. So she cut that out, and that helped her.
Mhm.
And I had another client, I'm like, you need to talk to Christina because she's been through this. And she was so adamant about, but I drink Diet Coke and, I'm able to go to sleep. And she finally did cut the caffeine and she's sleeping much better. So certainly, think about that. And,
Yep.
Any of these things pop up for you? Like
Oh
who I
yeah.
feel really bad for is these nurses, right? The nurses that are on, or anybody that's on like third shift. How do they
Mhm.
survive? I would be a zombie.
Yep.
Using blue light glasses if you are watching TV, really like an hour before bedtime, you should be cutting off electronic devices if you struggle to sleep. Like I said, I go to
Mhm.
sleep with the TV on, but my sleep latency is ridiculous. So,
Yeah, sometimes that sleeping with the TV is kind of helpful, just like listening to the news or something kind of. But
yeah,
I think I'm actually going to start reading more. I haven't really
yeah,
read like a book
yep,
on paper in a
yeah,
while, so I was thinking about giving that a shot because I think, used to read a lot. I just haven't really read lately because I'm always on my phone, which is, of course,
yep,
that's a problem. Um,
yeah,
so I'm thinking that might help a bit. I'll probably read like a
yeah,
page or two, and that might just knock me right out. So,
yeah, yeah, for sure. Hang on 1 second, guys. Oh, hi. I'm sorry. I thought you were my brother. Sorry about that. I'm wrapping up here. Um, I don't know what I was saying. Um, so yeah, just look at these things and see like,
mhm.
okay, what could be going on.
Yep.
Um, and you know, um, if you have any questions after this or something pops up, just feel free to reach out.
Okay.
Um,
Thanks.
so yeah, 7 to 9 hours is the recommendation.
That's like impossible
So
for me.
never know.
You got to be kidding. I don't know. I'm like 4 or 5 hours. I'm good. At least I think I'm
My
good, but I
goodness.
probably am not really,
Yeah, yeah, for
because I'll work
sure.
out the next morning. I'll go swimming the next morning and I've slept for 3 hours. I don't know how I do that.
Oh,
And then I'll do my workout and then it's just all messed up.
so I had a coach that used to work for me, and she was a teacher full time. I used to own a gym, and she would coach the 5 a.m. sessions for me on Tuesday and Thursday. And she would get up and do her workout. She would wake up at 3:30 in the morning, do her workout before she would come to the gym. And then she kept wondering, like, why am I getting hurt? She kept getting injured. And I'm like, because you're not sleeping. Like, you have to be able to sleep because that's where your body is repairing itself. And exercise is a form of stress. So if you're not sleeping, you're already stressed out, right? Then you're working out, which is stress. And then you're not eating well, which is stress. And then work is stressing you. And she kept getting repeatedly injured. And I said, girl, sleep, just sleep. Do me a favor. You are not allowed to get up, before 4:30 in the morning. Plenty of time. So something to think about, right? Um, a lot of times we're just dictated by our schedules, but we can also massage our schedules around a little bit so that we can improve our chances of feeling better and getting better sleep. So what do you, any of you that have trouble sleeping now, what do you think are 2 things that you can do to improve your chance of getting better sleep? Going back to that. And you can just shout it out.
Meditation.
Yep. And that works on both ends, actually. So going to sleep, but also starting your day. And, you know, you don't have to get the quiet room with a little meditation pillow and sit there for 30 minutes silent, right? 5 minutes. And there's so many apps, and meditation can look so many different ways for different people, right?
Thank you
But
for
for
that,
sure, I
Michelle.
like that.
So I tell all my counseling clients, I'm like, everyone thinks meditation's like woosah for like hours on end. And I'm like, it is not that. Like we can do like
No,
more realistic things in our day.
exactly. Like even stopping and breathing, doing some breath cycles for 1 minute. Like every little bit helps. So
I just call them mindful moments, like something you're already doing in your day. Like you don't need to change anything. Take something you're already doing and just take a moment and not do anything else and enjoy that moment, right? Like I always say, like
exactly.
drinking your coffee in the morning, like don't be on your phone, don't be listening to something, just sit there.
Yep. And actually, you know, on that note on the phone, sometimes, you know, the last thing we do before we go to bed is look at our phones, and the first thing we do when we get up, and it can cause so much stress. So like perhaps putting your phone in another room isn't a bad idea. Getting it away from you and picking up that book. It'll probably take you 5 pages before you fall asleep versus, you know, scrolling through your phone, and then next thing you know, half an hour has gone by. We tend to lose sight of time when we're doing that. So
You know,
anybody
on
else?
the meditation thing, I mean, I guess maybe I do a form of that, maybe never realized maybe that's what I'm doing, but I'll just turn on I've on YouTube, I've got a like rain and thunderstorm. It's like sounds, noise. It's very
Yeah,
white noise kind of thing. And for me, that just seems to block out stuff. So I think I find out times that's helpful for me.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I sleep with a
Especially when it
noise
comes to
machine.
sleep.
You do, Hunter? Yeah.
Yeah.
Noise machine. Yeah.
Yeah. I like
Yes, I
started
like it.
using it at my parents', but now I live on top of Route 84. So
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
it's
So
like,
it's a good white
yeah.
noise though, really. It works because you know, I've got 2 other people in the house and there's noises in the house going on and I'm going trying to get to bed kind of before they do. And so the white noise kind of blocks, it really does block that out for me. So it helps.
Yeah. Yeah. When I'm traveling in a hotel, or if I'm in the same room as somebody, I got these heads, I'll pop them in. The noise silencing ones,
Yep.
they're great.
They're the
Or
best. Yep.
yeah. Or I actually had my sister pick them up for my mom, because she was in a room with a really noisy person at the rehab place. Silicone earplugs.
Mm.
If you're staying at a hotel and it's just the strange noises, sometimes you just can't
Mm-hmm.
sleep. Popping those earplugs in too are
Hmm.
helpful, or on an airplane.
Yeah.
I also just had to take a red eye flight from LA to Philly, and I did take a CBN THC half a gummy out like a light. It was perfect.
Mm.
So, you know, you can always every once in a while use things like that too to help you get to sleep. And on other sleep supplements, uh, magnesium helps, and I believe it's L-theanine. There's a great sleep supplement by Prestige Labs. It's actually called the Sleep Multiplier. It's pretty expensive, but it flipping works. The Calm supplement I was talking about earlier, they just started making one that had additional sleep help in there. GABA is one thing, GABA. And I'm pretty sure that is the L-theanine is in that one, and magnesium. So those things. And I don't have my phone on me, but there's a guy on Instagram I follow, Dr. G. He's got a really long last name, and he had recommended 3 supplements to use together. For the life of me, I know one was magnesium, and there were 2 other ones. So if anybody wants those supplements, just let me know. I also have an ebook on adaptogens. And there are some sleep supplements in there. If anybody's interested in that, just shoot me your email and I can send that off to you.
On
If you don't know what adaptogens, go ahead.
on magnesium, yeah, I was gonna be starting to take some vitamins, calcium, but magnesium also. And there's, I guess, a couple magnesium ones. So I'm hearing that the glycinate one is maybe better than the other one, I don't know how you say the other one.
Citrate.
Citrate.
Citrate helps with constipation. So
Okay. I don't need that.
I will recommend, yeah, I will recommend that for clients that are increasing their protein. And if they start getting a little stopped up, I'll say try the magnesium citrate.
Right.
So yeah, I would say glycinate. I think there's maybe 6 to 8 forms of magnesium.
I've been doing the Pillar
So-
Performance magnesium, and that's like a triple magnesium is what they call it.
Probably covers many bases.
Yeah. And it's like goes through all like the testing for like doping control and stuff. But I found it's like I don't really have a problem with sleeping most nights, but I feel like when I take the magnesium, it feels like a deeper sleep. I don't really know how to describe it other than that, but it just feels deeper.
Do you wear a tracker at all?
No.
No. It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah.
The one thing I will tell you is, in January of 2021, I did 9 weeks straight with like all low inflammatory foods, no alcohol, and really dialing everything in. And when I looked at my sleep data, it was crazy how through the roof it was.
Yeah.
So, your nutrition definitely plays into that as well.
Yeah.
So
even just I've been trying like Monday through Thursday not to really drink, just athletic brewing and whatever water, seltzer, and like you do feel better, right? So you're like, damn it, like those 2 beers really affect you.
I know for sure. For sure. So anything else? Any other questions?
Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, I switched my microphone. I was trying to ask a question before, but it wasn't working. Does anyone else have like either restless legs or bone or joint aches when they try to sleep? Like, because I have that. So like I'll go to bed and like my body's aching. And I'll wake up in the middle of the night and it's aching. So, and I do take magnesium with vitamin D before I go to bed. But I was just wondering if anyone else has that or if it's just me because I'm getting old.
How long has that been going on?
A couple of
you?
years, I would say.
Yeah. And are you a workoutaholic, would you say?
I I work out every day. I mean, I take a rest day, usually 1 day a week. But I do something every day, either cycling or hiking or trail running or weight. I've been doing weight training as well. But I do take a rest day, usually with nothing except stretching. Like that's it.
Okay.
But just 1 day. But I feel like that's usually good. And like you said earlier, on the days that I listen to my body. If my body says you're too tired to do something crazy, then I won't. I'll just do a hike or something more minimal. But still, like right now, I'm sitting on the couch and my legs are aching. It's weird.
Yeah. Track your nutritional intake.
Yep.
You could be a little protein deficient.
Okay.
For sure. Because protein's going to help you with the muscle repair, and it could be again like you're trying to recover during that time. Although, I mean, restless leg syndrome is a thing, right?
Yeah.
Joint pain can certainly be attributable to your nutrition. Can also be attributable to your hormones. So if you're, perimenopausal, menopausal, that can certainly attribute to that the hormone change.
Yeah.
Okay. But I would certainly take a look at your nutrition and see like how much sugar that you're taking in, because that could definitely impact your joints. And then look at your protein and see if
Awesome.
you're getting adequate amounts.
Okay, great. Thank
Anything
you.
else?
Appreciate it.
No problem. Appreciate the question. Good.
Great. Thank you so much. Well, yeah, plug your
You
stuff.
are very welcome. Yeah. So if you guys need to get in touch with me, here's my email. Go ahead and take it down. What I really specialize in is 360 wellness. I'm just working on a behavior change course as well right now. I do look at hormones. So, if you have blood work or even just symptoms that you have, I can give you a symptom spreadsheet, and we can kind of figure out what's going on. Big into nutrition coaching, and also do online programming too, as far as exercise is concerned. And yes, I specialize in weight loss, fat loss, but also at the same time, there's just so much more that comes together in, wellness, that sometimes that weight loss is a secondary effect of getting your sleep dialed in, getting your nutrition dialed in, getting your stress dialed in, all of those things, and, working out the way you should for your age and your body. So, I know when I did this chat last year, Susan, who I think is on here, she has been working with me for a while. And Latricia, some of you might know her. She just hit her 20-pound weight loss mark, which was pretty awesome because she has been on this weight loss journey forever and has actually been trying to eat very few calories. And now she's eating more, and she's lost 20 pounds. And then Susan Hafler, if you know her, she has dropped more than 20 pounds, but she's also looking ripped now. So for me, it's awesome to work with athletes and cyclists because you guys already understand the importance of exercise. You just don't know how to dial all of the other things in. So I help you get dialed in that area. And if you guys are interested, just hit me up on email. I also have an Instagram, which I should have on here too. It's at Coach Michele with 1L M Fitness. Just type it in here. so you
I'll
can
make a post about it too.
see it. And I'm on Facebook too. So Michele Mainville is my Facebook. Oops. And I post all over there as well. So any other questions for me? Well, thank you for letting me share this. Like I said, I didn't really understand how important sleep regulation was. I've never really had an issue with sleep, but improving my sleep hygiene, getting my nutrition dialed in, really working on the alcohol side of things has been really beneficial because there's nothing like waking up in the morning feeling ready for your day. So, you know, top of the pillar in life and health. If you're ever looking for a good book, Peter Attia, Outlive. Pick it up. And also another one, Built to Move, is another good book.
Good thing we have a
All
book.
right. Good thing you have a what?
We have a book club.
Oh, there you go.
So maybe we'll pick one of them.
Well, let me know if you do. I'll jump in the book club with you.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much.
All
Thanks
right.
for joining. I
You're
will
very welcome.
post this probably in the morning because I'm tired. So,
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for
everyone have
joining,
a
guys.
great night.
Thank you. Good night.